Right. Before break, we have studied up to formation of blastocyst and hatching. Hatching means removal of zona pellucida. Now we'll discuss about implantation. Implantation means this blastocyst will enter into endometrium. That means burrowing of blastocyst into the endometrium. Clear? I hope you know the structure of endometrium. If no, I have explained in the menstrual cycle. You can refer there. See, this is endometrium. Innermost layer of uterus, what we call endometrium. Here also it will be there. I am drawing roughly. So this is endometrium. Into the endometrium, blastocyst will enter. That process what we are calling implantation. Right? For our convenience, we will discuss implantation under some headings. First one is apposition. Second one is addition. Third one is invagination. See, first one is apposition. Apposition. Second one is addition. Third one is invagination. Clear? Before apposition, one mechanism will happen within the uterus. See, uterus contains uterine milk. That means fluid will be present within the uterus. This fluid will push the blastocyst towards the endometrium. Imagine if you put ball in the closed water container. That ball will be pushed to the wall of the container by the fluid. Is it? So, in the same manner, fluid which is present within the uterus, that means uterine milk, will press the blastocyst towards the endometrium. Clear? Now, what was happened? This blastocyst pressed against the endometrium. Right? Now, apposition. Apposition means loose attachment between the endometrium and blastocyst. So, loose attachment. How it will attach? Here, two molecules are there. One is L-selectin. Second one is MUC1. This L-selectin will be present over the trophoblast cells. So, selectins will be present over the trophoblast cells. Right? And MUC1, actually it is a transmembrane protein. Clear? So, this transmembrane protein act as a ligand for L-selectin. That means this MUC will bind to the selectins. Clear? That means there will be binding in between the MUC1 and L-selectins. So, here I am drawing M here. That means MUC1. It is expressed in the epithelial cells of endometrium and L-selectins expressed in the trophoblast cells. So imagine this is L-selectin and this is MUC1. Both will bind together so that there will be loose contact or loose binding between the endometrium and blastocyst. So we have completed apposition. I hope you understood. Now addition. Addition means tight attachment. That means strong bonding. How? Here also expression of two substances, receptors will be present over the trophoblast cells. Here I am drawing R. Receptors will be present over the trophoblast cells and pentasaccharide lacto N fucopentase. This will be expressed over the epithelial cells of endometrium. So here epithelial cells of endometrium. Here receptors will be present over the trophoblast cells and pentasaccharide lacto N fucopentase will be present over the endometrium. So bonding between these receptors and this pentasaccharide lacto N fucopentase, right? Fucopentase 1. So bonding between these two will be very strong and there will be tight attachment. Clear? Very simple. Loose attachment L-selectins and MUC1. L-selectins where they are present over the trophoblast cells and MUC endometrium. So bonding between these two is loose. That process what we call apposition. Then receptors expressed over the trophoblasts and pentasaccharide lacto N fucopentase expressed over the endometrium. Bonding between these two is very tight. Clear? So that process what we call addition. Then invagination. Invagination means this trophoblast will be entering or invaginating into the endometrium. Clear? How it will happen? We will see step by step. You may ask one question. See, here lining epithelium is there. Is it? In between the cells, there will be cell junctions. Clear? But this trophoblast has to enter into the endometrium. If the cell junctions are strong, this trophoblast cannot enter. So, some factors will be released by the trophoblast cells which will disintegrate the cell bondings and also connective tissue which is present in the endometrium. Clear? So disintegration of cell junctions and disintegration of connective tissue which is present in the endometrium by some factors which will be released by the trophoblast. Right? For our convenience, I am taking this total picture, that means some part of the endometrium and blastocyst here, so that it will be easy to understand. Now I am removing these things here. These two we have completed. Now we are discussing about invagination. See, this part I am taking and I am magnifying here. So small portion of myometrium also I am taking. This is myometrium and this is endometrium. Endometrium at secretory phase. That's what these glands. What are these glands? Endometrial glands are sacculated. That means they are in the secretory nature at this phase. This is lining epithelium. Right? Here we can observe blood vessels, no? These are blood vessels. Here coiled arteries. These are coiled arteries. And along with arteries, you can find veins also. And stromal cells. These stromal cells are filled with more amount of lipids and glycogen. For what? For giving nutrition to the developing embryo. Now, I have drawn endometrium. Actually, in histology pictures, you will draw upside down. Is it? But I am taking this part of the endometrium and the blastocyst. So, don't confuse. Right? Now, here is the blastocyst. After addition, that means after tight attachment. Here you can find inner cell mass. Right? Now, when the blastocyst attached to the endometrium, trophoblast cells will proliferate new type of cells. These new type of cells lose their cell membrane, and forms multinucleated protoplasmic mass. That means if there is no cell membrane, it will be appearing as a multinucleated protoplasmic mass. This multinucleated mass of protoplasm, what we are calling syncytiotrophoblast. What is it? Syncytiotrophoblast. Clear? And the remaining cells which are present here, these black color cells, this is what we are calling cytotrophoblast. Cytotrophoblast. Clear? So now this is the syncytiotrophoblast. Clear? This syncytiotrophoblast extends into the endometrium in the form of finger-like process. In the form of finger-like process. Clear? So now it is extending. But there is a cell junctions and there is a connective tissue. If we can digest the connective tissue and if we can loosen the cell junctions, then only the syncytiotrophoblast and the embryo can enter into endometrium. Clear? For that, the syncytiotrophoblast will release tumor necrosing factor. Tumor necrosing factor or alpha tumor necrosing factor. What it will do? It will inhibits the, I am putting minus, it will inhibits the cadherin I hope you know about cadherin. Then it will also inhibit the beta catenin. Beta catenin. What will happen if we inhibit cadherin and beta catenin? Cadherin will help for the cell to cell addition. Imagine this is one cell and this is another cell. In between these two, cadherin will be there. This cadherin will help the cell to cell addition. Now we are inhibiting this cadherin. So there is no tight bonding between the adjacent cells. Then we are inhibiting the beta catenin also. Actually, beta catenin anchors the cell membranes of adjacent cells. So we are inhibiting this one also. So there is no anchoring. Clear? So if there is no tight bonding between the cells, this blastocyst and syncytial trophoblast can easily enter into endometrium. So this is one factor. And another one, this syncytial trophoblast will produce serine endopeptidases. Endopeptidases and metalloproteinases. Metalloproteinases. I hope you must be aware of metalloproteins. These are collaginases, then gelatinases, stromylysins, right? So cell to cell bonding removed by tumor necrosing factor. Now collagenase will digest the collagen fibers which are present in the endometrium. Gelatinases will digest the gelatins. Stromylases will digest the stroma. So here there will be disintegration of connective tissue which is present in the endometrium because of these substances. So when it is disintegrated, the syncytial trophoblast and blastocyst can easily enter or can easily invaginate into the endometrium. Clear? Actually, in normal terms, if you want to tell, it's like a digging, right? Because of these substances, digging the endometrium. So here, digging and this blastocyst and syncytial trophoblast entering into it. Clear? So with this process, now this blastocyst will be entering into endometrium. So this blastocyst I am going to draw over here. Clear? So now here is the blastocyst. Here it is not there now because it is entered into the endometrium. And here inner cell mass. And this is, what is it? Syncytial trophoblast extending into the endometrium in the form of finger-like extensions. Right? Now this entry point is there. No? This entry point, first it will be covered by fibrin threads. then it will be lined by epithelial cells. Clear? Now it is totally entering into endometrium, but still implantation not yet completed. Actually, implantation starts in the first week but ends in the second week. Actually, implantation will happen around 6th day after fertilization. 6th day after fertilization. Clear? Now, one applied impedance here. See, when it is digging and entering into the endometrium, in some individuals, some amount of blood may oozes out. Some amount of blood may oozes out through the vagina. At that time, she must be thinking that that is the menstrual blood. Clear? So she will be counting her pregnancy period wrongly. That means 1 month less. So this blastocyst I am going to draw within the endometrium, but I cannot draw this much larger blastocyst. I can draw smaller blastocyst here. Now it is entered into the endometrium. Right? So that is about implantation. And what is the normal site of implantation? At the junction of fundus and body, that too posterior superior part of the body. Clear? Posterior superior part of the body is normal site of implantation. But implantation any part of the upper segment of uterus considered as normal. Clear? Then what are the abnormal implantations? Implantation in the lower segment of the uterus and implantation within the fallopian tube. Implantation within the fallopian tube, what we call tubal implantation. This tubal implantation will not be carried out. Tubal implantation leads to rupture of fallopian tube, which leads to alarming bleeding. Then we will discuss something about decidua. Decidua is nothing but endometrium after implantation, what we call decidua. See, it is very important 3 marks question. Decidua is nothing but endometrium after implantation, what we call decidua. Right? Now, the decidua will be divided into 3 types. Decidua basalis, decidua capsularis, decidua paritalis. What is decidua basalis? See, this is the blastocyst. Here, the part of the endometrium which is present towards the polar trophoblast. The part of the endometrium, see here, which is present towards the embryonic pole. That means this part of the endometrium, what we call decidua basalis. Very simple. Decidua basalis present towards the, or which is covering the embryonic pole of blastocyst. So this is embryonic pole. If the endometrium present over this part is decidua basalis. This opposite pole is there, no? If the endometrium covering the abembryonic pole, that endometrium what we call decidua capsularis. Then the remaining endometrium, this one total, this remaining endometrium what we call decidua paritalis. Very simple. This is decidua basalis, this is decidua capsularis, and remaining total endometrium what we call decidua paritalis. Clear? So that's all for this class.